Right now, somewhere, a human is asleep in a tent. Just a thin sheet of nylon between him and the dark. No walls, no locks, nothing. Outside that flimsy wall is a forest full of animals that could end him. Leopards that hear a heartbeat across a clearing. Bears that smell a granola bar from a mile off. Wolves that see in the dark while you lie there with your eyes shut. A sleeping human is, by every honest definition, just meat. Slow meat, quiet meat, meat that can't run, can't fight back. So you'd expect predators to treat a campsite like a free buffet. They don't. They almost never do. Between us and the wild there is something like an unwritten treaty. Let's pull it apart. 1. You are terrifying. Not you specifically. You watching this are probably lovely. But humans as a species. To a predator, we are a horror story with legs. It makes no sense on paper. No claws. No real speed. Weak for our size. Half blind in the dark. As an animal, we're kind of a joke. And yet, researchers at UC Santa Cruz did something simple and revealing. They hid speakers in the hills and played ordinary human voices near wild mountain lions. Not roars. Not gunshots. People reading poetry, basically. Talking. The lions fled. They ran from the sound of a human chatting the same way they'd run from barking dogs. Sometimes faster. And here's the part that should stop you. Pumas abandoned fresh kills they were in the middle of eating just to get away from the noise. A predator walking away from food it already caught is, in survival terms, lighting money on fire. They did it anyway. The discomfort of being near us beat the pain of going hungry. And it's not just California. Lions in Kruger move less where people move more. Tigers in India leave a wide margin around villages parked in the middle of perfect habitat. Jaguars in the Amazon quietly route around us. These animals could attack. They've decided, across thousands of generations, that we're not worth it. Because for 2 million years, we have been the most relentless predator this planet has ever produced. We hunted mammoths off the map. We erased the giant sloth, the cave bear, the saber-tooth. We pushed wolves and cougars out of half a continent with traps and poison and patience. And that did something quiet and permanent. The bold ones died. The lion that strolled up to the campfire didn't pass on its genes. The wolf that raided the village got hunted down. The ones who kept their distance lived, bred, and handed that fear to their kids. Generation after generation, caution stopped being a choice and became instinct. So when a leopard catches your scent in the dark, an alarm older than language goes off in its nervous system. Not a thought, a reflex. Careful. Not that one. Move on. It's a memory it was born with, and it runs deep. 2. You smell wrong. You've never really noticed how you smell, because you're marinating in other humans all day. But to a nose that's anywhere from 10 to 100,000 times sharper than yours, you are screaming chemical nonsense into the night. A bear smells maybe 7 times better than a bloodhound. A wolf can pull a scent out of the air nearly 2 miles away. Big cats have a second sensor in the roof of the mouth, the Jacobson's organ, that basically lets them taste the air. And when that equipment points at a sleeping camper, the data comes back scrambled. You smell like nylon and polyester. Like the sandwich you ate at noon and the snacks in your bag. Like soap, sunscreen, bug spray. A chemical cocktail that exists nowhere in nature. Underneath all of it, yes, you smell faintly like a primate. But you do not smell like a deer. You don't smell like anything a predator's hunting software was written to recognize. Because that's the thing. A hunting instinct isn't a generic urge to kill things that move. It's a precise program tuned to specific prey. The gait of a wildebeest. The panic of a rabbit. The exact shape and scent of animals it's chased 10,000 times. You're not in the database. You're an error message. And for most predators, an unknown reads as danger. Not dinner. 3. The fire gave you away on purpose. Fire is one of the only things on Earth that almost every land animal fears without being taught. It's not learned. It's wired in. The animals that ran from wildfire lived. The ones that didn't burned. The fear is so deep that lab-raised animals who've never seen a flame will still flinch at the smell of smoke. We've had fire for somewhere between 1 and 2 million years. And for almost all of that time, sleeping beside one has been standard. We tell ourselves it was for warmth, for cooking. But a fire does something else. Whether our ancestors understood it or not. It throws a signal into the dark. That says something dangerous lives here. Something that controls flame. Stay back. The predators got the memo. They've been getting it so long that they don't even have to read it anymore. Smoke just triggers avoidance automatically. We figured that out before pottery, before writing, before the wheel. Fire first. Honestly, smart move. Now the big myth, the one movies have been selling for a century. The apex predator as a fearless killing machine that attacks anything that moves. Fiction. Total fiction. A real predator is a nervous accountant. Because a lion has no health insurance. A wolf gets no sick days. One bad injury, a cracked leg, a deep bite, a damaged eye, isn't a trip to the vet. It's a slow death by starvation. So every hunt is a cold calculation. Is this worth the risk of getting hurt? A sleeping human fails that math 3 times over. First, you're unpredictable. A predator is confident against prey it studied. It knows how a zebra bolts, where it's blind, how it kicks. It has no idea what a human will do. You might wake up screaming. You might have tools. You might have 10 friends who all wake up too. That uncertainty is a giant red flag. Second, you're the wrong shape. Standing, a human is tall and upright. And being upright is itself a threat display in the animal world. It's what bears do to look big. What gorillas do to intimidate. A creature that walks around like that all day reads as assertive, not easy. Third and simplest, why bother? There's almost always an easier meal. A healthy predator in a healthy ecosystem has familiar prey it knows how to catch. Gambling on a strange, upright, chemical-soaked anomaly. When there's a perfectly normal deer over the hill. The risk-reward just doesn't work. 5. You're not as asleep as you think. Here's something that almost never comes up. Your sleep isn't a power-off switch, it's a dimmer. You move through cycles all night, down into deep sleep, then back up into lighter stages, where the brain is surprisingly switched on. And in those lighter phases, your mind keeps filtering the world. Familiar sounds get ignored. Strange ones get flagged. A twig snapping wrong. Something heavy moving through brush. A shift in the air. These can yank you awake faster than you'd believe. Scientists call it the sentinel function of sleep. Anthropologist David Sampson, studying the Hadza in Tanzania, found that in a group sleeping out in the open, there was almost never a moment when everyone was fully under at once. Someone was always surfacing. A camp is a rotating night watch that nobody scheduled. This isn't an accident either. The ancestors who slept like the dead, who couldn't be woken by danger, were more likely to never wake at all. The light sleepers, the ones who could go from snoring to standing in 2 seconds, those are the ones who became us. You feel helpless when you're out cold. You're actually running a quiet early warning system. 6. You're never really alone. Humans don't sleep solo, and we almost never did. We travel in groups, sleep in groups, and groups respond together. Predators understand this in their bones because their prey forms groups too. A wildebeest in the middle of the herd is safe. The one that drifts to the edge is dinner. Predators don't just hunt prey, they hunt for the straggler, the isolated one, the one cut off from the pack. A camp of sleeping humans is the opposite of that. Wake one and the whole group lights up. Noise, movement, chaos. For a predator trying to make a clean, low-risk kill, that's a nightmare scenario. Exactly the kind of thing evolution built it to avoid. So that's the treaty. 6 layers, holding the line almost every single night. Almost. Because this would be a dishonest video if it ended there. The attacks do happen, and when they do, they follow a pattern. Something broke the rules. A predator injured and unable to chase its normal prey. One starving because we bulldozed its habitat. One that lost its fear because tourists fed it. Or one simply too old to hunt anything that can run. The lions of Tsavo, 1898. 2 males that killed dozens of railway workers in Kenya over 9 months. The legend says 135. Careful analysis of their remains put it closer to 35. And here's what gets left out. These were broken animals. Both were oddly maneless. One had severe dental damage that almost certainly made normal hunting agony. They weren't lions being lions. They were exceptions. The Champavat tiger, blamed for an estimated 436 deaths in Nepal and India in the early 1900s. When the hunter Jim Corbett finally examined it, he found its canine teeth had been shattered by an old gunshot. It physically could not hunt its natural prey anymore. Injury, then a shrinking forest, pushed it toward the only food left. The pattern repeats everywhere. The rule holds, unless the ecosystem is wrecked. The predator is desperate, or the humans scrambled the signal themselves by leaving food out or letting the fire die. And then there's the last layer, the one that's almost too big to feel. We've made the natural world so afraid of us, that the fear itself has become a force. That same UC Santa Cruz research showed. The terror doesn't stop at the predator. When pumas avoid us, the deer in those zones relax and overgraze. The smaller hunters, foxes, bobcats, pull back too, so the rodents they kept in check explode. The whole web tilts. Not because of what we eat, because of where we simply stand. Our fear radiates outward through the living world like a signal, rearranging entire food chains in places we never even touch. One species, one inherited terror, rippling across the whole planet. The most dangerous animal alive isn't the one with the biggest teeth. It's the one that figured out fire before it figured out anything else. The one that sleeps light, moves in packs, and carries 10,000 generations of survival coded into its blood. That's you. So the next time you're lying in a tent in the middle of nowhere, listening to something move in the dark beyond that thin nylon wall, and you feel that old cold pulse of fear, let it come. That feeling kept your ancestors alive for 1,000,000 years. But the thing out there in the dark, it isn't coming in. It knows better.